They came from all over Greece, 300 Spartan warriors who stood defiant against the invading Persians. They were vastly outnumbered, outgunned, and had no hope of winning. Yet these 300 men changed the course of history forever. So watch as we look back at the legendary Battle of Thermopylae, where 300 Spartans stood against Persia. It's hard to overstate just how powerful the Persian Empire was. At its greatest extent, it stretched from central Greece all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And when King Xerxes invaded Greece in 480 BCE, he brought with him an army that numbered in the hundreds of thousands. The Greek city-states were divided, but under the leadership of Sparta and Athens, they formed a fragile alliance to resist the Persian threat. But where should they resist? For the Spartans, it was obvious. Their allies would meet them at the narrow pass of Thermopylae, which was so narrow that only a few thousand soldiers could fight at a time. It was here at the hot gates that King Leonidas of Sparta led his 300 warriors to defend, along with a few thousand Greek soldiers from other city-states. So let's get this straight. A measly few thousand Greeks stood against an invading force of hundreds of thousands. No wonder the Persians won. Well, not so fast. The numbers are a little more complicated than that. Most estimates put the Persian army between 70 and 200,000 strong, but historians disagree over exactly how many there were. Herodotus, the so-called father of history, wrote that there were 180,000 Persian soldiers, but modern historians tend to reject that number as exaggerated. More conservative estimates place the Persian army around 70,000, which is still 70 times larger than the Greek force. But the Greeks knew something the Persians did not. They knew they didn't have to win the Battle of Thermopylae. All they needed to do was survive long enough. The narrow pass neutralized the Persian numerical advantage. If the Greeks could hold out for 2 weeks, the rest of the Greek army would be able to arrive and the Persians would be utterly crushed. So the Greeks held their ground as the Persians attacked again and again. And if the Spartans and their allies had decent armor, the Persians had none. Yet wave after wave of Persian soldiers charged into the Greek lines and died. Each time the Persians attacked, they became more elite, but also more desperate. First came the cavalry, then the infantry, and finally the immortals, one of the most elite troops in the Persian army. But even they were unable to break through the Greek lines. Fighting at Thermopylae was absolutely brutal. The air was filled with the clash of steel, the shouts of warriors, and the stench of blood and sweat. But the Greeks held firm. Day after day, Leonidas and his men fought back the Persian invaders. The Spartans were known for their discipline and their superior fighting style, and they used it to great effect. They fought in tight, well-disciplined units, using their shields and spears to great effect. When the Spartans saw an opening, they would strike with their swords. As the days passed, the Persian losses mounted, but still they came again and again. Then on the third day, something happened that should have been impossible. The Persians broke through the Greek lines. The Greek right wing, composed mainly of Thespians, was forced to retreat. This was bad news for the Greeks. With the right wing gone, the entire Greek position was in danger of collapsing. And then Leonidas did something that shocked everyone. He dismissed most of the Greek army, sending them away to safety. As for himself, he stayed behind with about 300 Spartans, 700 Thespians, and 400 Thebans. But why? Why didn't Leonidas fight to the death with the rest of the Greek army? Well, the answer lies with a man named Ephialtes. He was a Greek from the region of Euboea, and he hated the Spartans. When the Persians invaded Greece, he could have joined the Greek army and fought against them. Instead, he went to King Xerxes and offered to help him defeat the Greeks. In return, Xerxes promised him great riches. So Ephialtes led the Persians to a secret mountain path that bypassed the narrow pass altogether. In the dead of night, the Persians marched through the mountains while the Greeks slept. By the next morning, They had encircled the entire Greek army. When Leonidas learned what had happened, he could have tried to fight his way out, but he knew it would have been a hopeless and bloody affair. So instead, he dismissed most of the Greek army, saving their lives, and stayed behind with the 300 Spartans and their allies to fight to the death. What happened next has become legendary. The Persians attacked again and again, but the Greeks fought back bravely, killing or wounding many Persians. Finally, when their ammunition ran out, the Spartans and their allies drew their swords and prepared to die. They fought to the last man, and every single one of them was killed. Leonidas and his men had become martyrs, giving their lives for the freedom of Greece. But was it worth it? Did Thermopylae achieve anything? Yes, it did. You see, the Persians did advance after Thermopylae, but they were slowed by the fierce fighting, which gave the rest of the Greek army time to arrive. Together, the Greeks defeated the Persians at the battles of Salamis and Plataea, ending the Persian threat to Greece once and for all. The story of 300 Spartans versus Persia is one of courage, resistance, and fighting against impossible odds. It's a story that has inspired people throughout history and continues to inspire us today. From the famous movie 300 to the many books and articles written about Thermopylae, the story of the Spartans has never faded from our collective memory. So why is this story still so important to us today? Maybe it's because Thermopylae reminds us that even when things seem darkest, hope is not lost. Even when we're facing impossible odds, we can still stand up and fight for what we believe in. Or maybe it's because Thermopylae shows us the importance of unity. The Spartans were only able to hold off the Persians for so long because they were willing to put aside their differences and work together. Or maybe it's simply because Thermopylae is just a really fun story. Who doesn't love a good underdog story? A bunch of misfits who come together to take on the establishment and win. Whatever the reason, the story of 300 Spartans versus Persia continues to capture our imaginations and inspire us to be better people. These brave warriors may have lived 2,500 years ago, but their story is just as relevant today as it was then. Thank you for watching this episode. If you enjoyed it, please like and share it with your friends. We'd also like to thank all of our supporters for making it possible for us to bring these videos to you. If you'd like to support us, you can do so through the provided means. Once again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.